Hi, my name is Patrice, and welcome to the Golden Helix Guild YouTube channel. Today we have with us Mary Lazaro Bach, the Happy Medium. Messages come through Mary, not only verbally, but also in the drawings that she is guided to create. Hi Mary, I'm so glad that you could be with us today.
Hi Patrice, I'm glad you actually I'm honored that you asked me.
So could you describe for us a little bit more of who the Happy Medium is?
Happy Medium is actually a character in Madeleine L'Engle's book A Wrinkle in Time. And I remember thinking that was such a funny, wonderful, great name. And it wasn't until many years later when I realized that I was a medium that I purloined it as my title. Because my business cards used to say, reach a happy medium, which for me meant they could contact me, as well as they themselves would be able to come to a comfortable place with their questions in their lives. So that was my intent, was to be able to help people come to a comfortable place.
I love that.
Thank you.
Now, I am just finding out a little bit more about you and your background, your
Been reading my website, have you?
background. Actually, no, but we can say right now, what is your website?
My website is www.marybach.com. My friend and computer wizard Tom helped me start it up, which is not to say that I'm as talented as he is with maintaining it, so please be patient, especially with my woeful art section. It really should do a lot better than it is right now. But what I find too is I reread it from time to time to edit things out and change things, and I must say I'm impressed. Because like, I said that? Wow, that's pretty cool. So yeah, I forget sometimes what I've written, and I take out what I think sounds a little too pompous or too etheric. But it keeps me humble, and it reminds me too what I'm here for.
So what is your academic background?
Academically, well, I was raised in New Britain, Connecticut, which is centrally part of our state. And I went to public schools until about end of 5th grade, and I went to a private school for 3 years, and I went to a parochial Catholic high school. So I've been raised in, secular, private, as well as public education. I went to St. Joseph College the first time and got my degree in child study and special education. After a series of incredibly devastating and moving events that occurred in the mid-'80s, I went back to St. Joseph College and got my degree in pastoral ministry, which basically I went to the program director and said, this is what I want to do. You tell me what degree that matches up with and I'll take it. So after he heard my plan, he said, well, that's pastoral ministry. I said, okay, sign me up. And so they did. I wanted to give myself credentials. I didn't want to be just that, hippie having her gay friends having a commune. I wanted to be able to provide an environment, my daughter calls it a healing house, where you have an artistic endeavor, the antique and tchotchke art store, handmade jewelry, hand-thrown pots, blown glass, whatever the community wants to produce. And therefore, too, if people in the community needed to stop work for whatever reason, for a month or 2 months for hospitalizations or for other emergencies of a personal nature, they would be able to continue living there and to have company and warm meals and clean sheets. And then when they're able to resume normal activities, then their jobs were there. That was born of a very dear friend of mine who was diagnosed with AIDS early in the mid-1980s, which was a terrible, terrible time to have that disease. It's still a terrible thing to have, but back then you were fighting public opinion as well, and our biggest concern was when he lost his job, as he would because of his absences due to his hospitalizations, where would he live and how would he live? And at that point he had not told his parents, neither about his sexual orientation or about his physical health, and it became very important to me that we friends who were his family, provided for him a safe and loving environment that could support him when he needed it. As it ended up, God bless his parents, they were loving and supportive and never ever questioned his need to come home, and he lived with them in and out of hospital until he died. But it never stopped me from thinking that there were people that didn't have parents like his, that were compassionate and loving, and who'd already themselves conquered so much difficulty in their time in Poland during the war. His mom was actually part of the Warsaw Uprising. I found out many years later. We didn't talk about it. So here are these people that survived calamity closest to your emotional bone as you can get, and they still had more love and giving for their own son, which was to me such a gift for him. Because, anyway, the point is, that's my educational background. That's why I have the degree I have. I wanted to, my cousin very succinctly said at pastoral ministry, I said, yep. He goes, so you're a shepherd? I'm like, I kind of guess. Because I broke from a religion, in my teens, and haven't gone back, and took the saints with me, took the angels with me. But recognize there's so many people that are, used to call us the unchurched. We don't have a faith community. We don't have, by a choice or by belief. But when calamity strikes you, there has to be some sort of community that comes through and holds you until you're strong enough to stand by yourself. And so that is the kind of community I guess I want to bring to this planet, because here I am, and this is stuff I'm doing, and
That's very compassionate and insightful. In fact, one of the couple of the sentences that I wrote from your website that I really appreciated was, the people whom I have loved and the experiences I have had brought me not just profound love, but deep grief and tremendous insight, often at the same time. I just think there's so much to that statement, and it speaks volumes of who you are. Now, do these experiences or points of view affect the readings that you do?
They can, in the respect that sometimes with readings you're prompted to tell a story, you're prompted to share a lesson you may have learned. People are more willing to believe in your spiritual experiences, I think, than they are to believe in their own spiritual experiences. So when necessary, and when prompted to by Spirit, I will share something and of a profound nature, or that applies, or that helps them see how their experience is indeed real. So in some ways I'm grateful for the calamity which befell me. It's the old story, that's good, that's bad. My son fell and broke his leg. Well, that's horrible. No, it's good, because the army came today to conscript the young men. Well, that's good. No, that's bad, because, then he was taken as a slave to another place. Well, that's horrible. No, that's good, because in doing so, the story builds. It's something that happens. It's an occurrence. It has no attachment to good or bad. It simply is. And how you interpret it, how you internalize it, what you learn from it or don't learn from it, you can cast it as something, as a blessing or curse, but in essence, it's still just itself. It's the death of your best friend through a tremendously horrible disease. It's your love, your beloved coming home on his motorcycle, going way too fast, trying to make a curve and missing it. That ultimately, I met the man who inherited his heart. So, and that man's daughter went on to become a doctor.
So you mentioned if someone comes to you for a reading, you might be directed by Spirit to tell a story. What would happen if I were to come to you for a reading? What would that be like?
Well, as it's evolved over the last few years, my intent during a reading has changed. It used to be that I would be open to helping the person with whatever question they had, or to give them information that might be around that they may not know of. My intention to become more directed toward the spirit, angel entities, God around them, so that I'm asking, I'm not so much advertising. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I ask the spirit guides, I'll be at this place at this time. Bring me those you would wish to have a message, and I'll be happy to provide a voice for you. And they come. So I know for sure whenever people come to an event, it's because they're supposed to be there, because something to be said for them. And it kind of removes that sense that I have to perform, because I'm not having to perform. I'm not doing anything more than listening with a sense that maybe they haven't honed yet themselves, because I'm very clear when I'm doing a reading in a gallery style or just a one-to-one, is that there's nothing I'm doing that they can't themselves learn. That this is not, oh, you're the psychic. This is, oh, you're human and so am I, and I have the same 5 senses you have, and I can develop those senses and use them and learn about my world that way, but I also have the same 7 chakras you have. I have the same energy centers and the same energy flowing through me. I can touch the same chi of the earth. I can access the same great love of the cosmos. And because I haven't done so yet is mainly because I haven't been taught to yet, or I haven't been encouraged to. But I always encourage others at group readings to participate. If you're getting a shift, if you're getting a name, if you're getting a physical something, or you're hearing a word, share that. Share that, because this isn't just stuff only I can see. This is stuff that, you're driving your car and you got it set on FM, and that's fine. Listen to FM all you want. But, if you turn to AM, guess what? There'd be other stuff you'd be hearing and listening to and exposed to. You wouldn't normally, hey, I never realized that. Well, it's kind of like that. It's once they realize, hey, that's right. I remember a time when, or that's right, I never trust that gut feeling, or I should have guessed, I knew I was right and I changed. So everyone has his experiences of second guessing their own intuition. Everyone has his experiences of knowing they're right, but choosing with their brain anyway. And it's just a matter of degree of listening. So I'm not just out here trying to, feather my nest. I'm trying to let you all learn how to fly yourselves, because that's what we're here for. And that's, I think, why I work outside of a faith community and a religion, because I find too many religions, once you have one, you exclude others. You draw a ring around us. This is us. These are our beliefs. This is what we do. This is where we go to heaven. This is our God. This is why we're better than you are, and it sets you apart. By opening that circle, I'm saying, listen, you live on the planet Earth. You have access to the same spiritual life encounters that any other earthlings aspire to. I don't play the piano, but I could learn to play the piano because I have the fingers for it, and I have an intelligence, and I could probably find a piano teacher who would teach me, and I could learn to play the piano. If you wanted to learn to find your own energy centers, or to be a healer, or to be a psychic, you would be able to find someone that would guide you, your own spirit guides as well. And it's just a matter of becoming comfortable with your own nature.
So when you get these messages, from whom do you receive them?
Well, it depends on how you view the cosmos. I mean, in 3 dimensions, we tend to assume that we're all separate people, and therefore we have separate angels and separate past lives and separate guides. The way I've come to understand the way the cosmos works is there's just one of us, that it's all connected, that there is I explained to my friend Doug, who is a dyed-in-the-wool, hard and fast atheist, that, well, you're a raisin, and you tell me there's no raisin bread, and you can believe that if you want to, but I know it's the raisin bread holding us together. I know that that's how we're connected, that what happens to the raisin bread happens to the raisins. So it's kind of like that with spirit. I'm not so much trying to isolate I don't even do past lives anymore. I don't find that is relevant to where I am right now. And that's okay. It's not to say people who do past life work aren't doing true and good work, but where they're working is where they're working, and I'm working, some people are pediatricians, some people are proctologists. I'm just dealing with different kind of...
So if you were to differentiate, would it be guides, angels?
Well, yeah. They're
oneness?
There are different vibrations. Let's just say it's like the same guitar has different strings.
So you were saying everyone can learn to be an intuitive, but how old were you when you first knew that you could do these things? That you had a wider spectrum of awareness or senses?
Well, that's a curious question, because when you're a little kid and you're growing up and you have curly hair, you have curly hair. You don't think about it. It's just part of how you are. When you grow up and go to school, everyone remarks about your curly hair. Suddenly you're the girl with the curly hair, And then you realize people that don't have curly hair, and some of them want curly hair, and some don't want it. Some want. So you don't think of yourself as being singularly different, because it's simply how you are. It's not till it's pointed out to you you realize this is normal. This is normal. The lights and the bubbles and the pretty things that used to, float in and out of the crib bars during my nap, the voice that reminded me of things about being careful, or reminded me about when to go a place, or the certain knowing when I opened a Christmas present that it was a blue sweater or a polka dot blouse. I mean, it was just me, and if I would got scolded for it, or upbraided for it, or told it wasn't a religion, then I suddenly really realized that not only it wasn't that I was wrong, I just knew when to shut up. It wasn't until it became, let's just say I didn't realize I was doing something that could help other people until maybe the 1985 or so. I got a hold of a copy of Shirley MacLaine's book Out on a Limb, and what that did was it gave me names for things that have been happening all my life. It gave me things to look up. I mean, this is back when there was no internet. We went to the library with a list of things that said, look up channeling, look up chakras, look up mysterious things like meditation. And I did, and it was like a jumping off point for me metaphysically. Suddenly, everything I'd experienced and been told no and don't, and you're weird and that stop it, and suddenly there's a community of people who actually believe these things and live this way, and I was so relieved.
So do you hear these voices, this communication all the time?
I learned to block things out. When you walk into an antique store and you fall backwards and like, oh my God, it's just too much and I'm dizzy and I'm overwhelmed, you have to learn to turn that stuff off. My parents took us a lot of times to museums, and you're standing there and the little rope is there and there's a table, and the man is explaining how those splotches are blood from a massacre at lunch. And suddenly you see them all. You feel the fear. You see the candles toppling over, and the door, and the screaming, and you're like, whoa, let's move on to the next display, shall we? But you have the sense of it, so you learn to go, oh, I can't, no, that's too much, and turn it off. Same as when you walk into a room full of people. Crowds are difficult because there's all that stuff, and not only that, it's people don't speak their truth. Grown-ups are the hardest thing to navigate, because they'll tell you one thing and you're going, I'm getting so much different than what that is. So you have to regulate yourself into your third-dimensional persona and third-dimensional interactions, and you have that other dimensional thing that you say, okay, I'll just take that, but I can't act on any of it.
So I take it this ability does not run in your family, since your parents didn't really understand?
Well, it did. I think it scared them, because I think my mother had a good deal of it too. What's interesting about my family is my father's people came from Italy, and his parents were first cousins. My mother's people came from another part of Italy, and her parents were first cousins. When you have a little bit of land, you don't want to give half of it away by having a marriage out to the family. So you do what you can to keep the farm together, right? And so you, I don't know the circumstances, whether this is a love thing or is this an economic thing, but all of my cousins on one side, all the female cousins, the men have it too, they ignore it. It's just the way it's evolved in our family. My cousin will call me, she'll say, you didn't tell me you're engaged, well, you didn't tell me you were pregnant, because we know, we just know. We've had prophetic dreams. The younger people talk about it. The aunts never did, because we could pry it loose if we had enough tea and cookies between us. You can get a story here, a story there, and you kind of pull your information. Well, she told me this. Well, auntie told me that. And yeah, my sister and I, during the same time, were exploring metaphysics together and healing with crystals. And she's remarkable. She can run your hand over the worst mosquito bites, and it's no itch. It's all gone. But she's chosen a different path now and has not continued with her work, and that's her choice, but I'm still here exploring and enjoying it, and the thing is, it's not something so much new to explore as something familiar to unravel.
So as we've been talking, you've been drawing.
Yes, I have.
That's one of your gifts. Are you done with your drawing?
No, actually this was an image I had of something to draw, to paint, as I was driving here. So this is just a preliminary sketch. But
so how do they work when you do a reading?
How does it work? All right. Well, I'm. Want to do one now? Well, here it is. All right. Imagine your kitchen. Can you see your kitchen clearly in your head?
Yes.
You're not seeing it visually in front of you, but you can have a very clear idea where the teapot is and what the sink is, and so you can see it in your head. That's kind of visually where I'm working. I get a very clear image in that interior screen. It may not, I have in the past, for the most part, they're not materializing, they're not coming to 3 dimensions. They're in that screen in my head. And when I see them, I discuss them, I talk about them. And in talking about them and in drawing them, sometimes I'm drawn to details which flesh it out and bring it clearer to me. So the drawing became more of a focus point for me. I'm a very visual person. I also have found over the years that I learned by writing things down, not so much by rereading them, but the act of writing them down aesthetically is how I recall things. So I'm the one that will write things in the air, like remember the address is 15th seat, or trying to remember things. I will physically make the motions, knowing that I don't need to see the paper. I can just have the motion and I have it. So for me, that's a way of clarifying information. There are other ways. I sometimes will hear, almost as if I'm translating, spirit to English. I'm just repeating what I'm, almost like a simultaneous translation, like the UN. You're going from Portuguese to Japanese, and it's like that. I get words and I say them. I also will manifest a physical symptom, or especially in the case of a dear departed, I might have a gesture that isn't mine. I might suddenly be doing something like this and back and forth. I'm like, what is this? Who is this? What's this? What's this going on? I'm supposed to say my uncle used to do that. So, okay, your uncle. And I'm like, okay, did he die of a heart attack? Because I'm really getting... And then if I talk about the pain I'm getting, and if the person can identify someone, it goes away. But if I don't get an identification, it will continue. In fact, it will get stronger until one time I was doing a group reading, and I had suddenly my throat seized up and I was coughing. I was like, who died of emphysema? And no one owned it. Like, please, someone hurry! I was losing breath, and I wasn't really scared, but it was so strong coming through, and I was manifesting symptoms so strongly that until we did realize that, mom was like, oh my God, that must be my mom. And then bam, once she identified who it was, I could breathe again. People get me water, I'm like, it's not gonna, I appreciate the water, but it's not what this is. This isn't me. And I can tell what's from me.
So it's more of a signal.
Yeah, it's a signal. It's like if you see something in the backyard, like, what is that? Is that like looking at a rabbit track? Is that a rabbit track? Must be. Too big, it's too small for a deer. It must be a rabbit. So you take what you know about it and you describe it. You say, well, they're together, but they move. Maybe it was hopping. You try to. But the thing is, too, I often do readings without my glasses on. I was, for almost 30 years a special education teacher. I'm really good with behavioral observations. I don't want to see a person react. I don't want their eyes to get wide or them sort of smile or blush or have some sort of reaction when I'm saying that I'm going to go, oh, well, I don't want to be that kind of psychic. I'm not that kind of psychic. I don't want to read you. It's not me. I want to read what I'm getting to help you with where you are. So a lot of times people say, I was here last time. I'm like, I'm sorry, you're just that, soft blur by the lamp, because I don't look at the people so much as I have. It happens close one-to-one in a fair or something where I see them, but most of the time it's not me using my eyes.
So what advice do you have of someone thinking to go to an intuitive for a reading?
Well, I don't know, I guess it's know what you want to ask, and often I'll get a call. I do radio call and show too, and they want to know about will their boyfriend come back. No, he's not. And then they'll argue with you. Well, what about this? I'm like, don't go if you already have an answer you want, I guess. What I usually do when I go for reading, and I do go for readings because I'm a little dense about me sometimes, is I'll say, what am I missing? I'll ask my guys, what am I missing? What are you trying so hard to get through to my head? And I'm just missing it. So that's what I'm missing. So I'll ask if they have any questions. A lot of time it's about a departed loved one, or a lot of time it's about a worry about financial things or about a family thing or health thing. But I'm also inclined to let them know that, from my point of view, I have something to tell them. But I don't force that. I mean, if that's something that... I want to serve them and their needs. I did get out of reading at fairs in the 80s because it just got to be... I was like, these angels are here and here's your purpose for your life. And I was like, this is so amazing. please, I want to share this. And they were like, well, you know, the blue car is bigger, but the red car is faster, and I can't decide which car to buy. And I'm just going, are you? But you know, you have to meet people where they are. So you'd be like, well, you know, it feels like I can see you being happy driving in the red car. So maybe that's something that you might want to consider driving more of it. See if over the long term it works for you. You know, if I get something that big hit, like no, that's not the place to work. Or I might. It's fun when I'm doing radio ones. I'm doing the drawings. And I'm saying, what has orange and white stripes? Someone's talking about a job. She goes, I know. I said, well, you had like 3 interviews this week, right? How did you know? I was like, because you had 3 interviews this week. It's just, you know. But which one had the orange and white stripes? Because that feels like the most promising. She goes, oh, I can't believe it. And I'm like, what? And she said, well, that's the place I interviewed yesterday. Their logo was orange and white stripes. I said, well, considering you're in California and we're talking through a show in North Carolina and I'm in Connecticut and I'm drawing orange and white stripes before you finished answering your question, I'm finally pretty sure that the orange and white stripes is something you should pay attention to.
That's lovely. So, if someone wants to get in touch with you to schedule a reading,
stop by my website. That's again, it's www.marybach.com. Besides, you know, reading about my general take on life, there is an about page. There is a find me section where you can go and sometimes I update my calendar about where I'm doing local presentations. But there's my information, contact information for my phone number to call me. I can do readings via Skype. I've done them in emails. I've done them on the telephone, and you know, whatever works. And you know, if I'm not for you, I'm not for you. You know, I'm not like the answer to the world. I'm just me doing my thing. I'm dropping my pebbles, you know, and when the pebbles have ripples, hopefully they go to someplace new, beneficial. So,
thank you, Mary.
well, thank you.
I've enjoyed listening to you and everything you've had to say.
Well, thank you.
I appreciate it.
And namaste.